Welcome to the School of the Lost Tribes.
So these are some of my records from class back in the day. This is how I used to break it down, right? I'm gonna go through the Jews in Europe, and hopefully I'll be able to do the ones in China and so forth, right? Some of the breakdowns that we have. Then then all these are the notes I did. I had to go through and do all the notes and so forth. So be patient. I'm going through all these records and try to get them done as soon as possible, especially the Israelites that traveled to ancient Europe. That's a big one that got to get broken down so you can have a better understanding. All right, shalom.
Ezekiel 37:1. The hand of Yahweh was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. Explanation. This verse sets the stage for a prophetic vision uniquely relevant to the scattered and spiritually dead house of Israel, especially the northern kingdom, often symbolized as cut off from the covenant and assimilated among the Gentiles. The hand of Yahweh was upon me signifies divine authority and prophetic empowerment. Ezekiel is not operating under his own strength or initiative. Yahweh directly imposes his will upon the prophet to deliver a vision specific to the Israelite nation. Carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh indicates this is a divinely induced vision, not a physical transportation. This mirrors other prophetic revelations shown to men of Israel concerning their nation's destiny, e.g., Daniel and John in Revelation. This is not a universal message to all mankind. The Spirit of Yahweh is revealing something uniquely for His people. Set me down in the midst of the valley reflects the low estate of Israel at the time of dispersion. A valley, as opposed to a mountain, symbolizes humility, subjugation, and even death, a landscape fitting for a nation stripped of its heritage, language, and law. Which was full of bones, clearly symbolizes the dead state of the Israelites, particularly those of the northern kingdom, who were cast off and scattered among the nations, cf. 2 Kings 17. These bones are not literal corpses, but represent a people cut off from their identity, covenant, and knowledge of Yahweh. Ezekiel 37:2. And caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Expanded explanation with exclusive Israelite doctrine. Yahweh, through His Spirit, takes Ezekiel on a close, intentional survey of the bones, symbolic of the house of Israel in exile. This vision isn't abstract. It is a direct and graphic image of the condition of the lost generations of Israel, especially those of the northern kingdom, who were cast off due to idolatry and rebellion. Very many in the open valley speaks of the multitude of Israelites scattered across the nations, no longer in their land, no longer a unified people. This represents a lost generation, not lost to time, but lost in identity, heritage, language, and covenant. They are descendants of Jacob, who no longer know they are Israelites, absorbed into foreign nations and customs. And lo, they were very dry. The dryness of the bones symbolizes the complete loss of spiritual life. When an Israelite forsakes Yahweh, the living power of their forefathers, and turns to idols, false gods, and the customs of the heathen, they become spiritually dead. Dryness implies no moisture, no life, cut off from the covenant, the laws, and the promises. This is the ultimate consequence of idolatry. Death, not in body, but in nationhood and spiritual connection. Thus, this vision is Yahweh showing Ezekiel the condition of His people, dead, not buried, not mourned, simply forgotten, as they have forgotten Him. A nation without its Creator, without Torah, without heritage, is a dead nation, waiting only for the breath of Yahweh to restore them. Ezekiel 37:3. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord Yahweh, thou knowest. Yahweh now speaks directly to Ezekiel, testing his understanding and awareness of the hopelessness of the vision, the state of Israel cut off from their heritage and covenant. Son of man, can these bones live? This question is rhetorical, but powerful. Yahweh is not asking out of uncertainty. He is drawing Ezekiel into the reality that from a human perspective, these bones, this nation, appear beyond restoration. They are not just physically dead. They are dead in spirit, culture, identity, and covenant. These are Israelites who have forgotten their Maker, worshipped idols, adopted heathen customs, and abandoned the laws given through Moses. In this state, they are as lifeless as dry bones. And I answered, O Lord Yahweh, thou knowest. Ezekiel wisely defers the answer to Yahweh, recognizing that only the Most High has the power and will to revive a people so thoroughly dead. This is not merely about physical resurrection. This is about national and spiritual revival, something only Yahweh can bring about. It shows that even Ezekiel, a prophet, sees no natural way for these bones, this lost nation, to come back to life. It will take a divine intervention, one rooted in Yahweh's mercy and covenant promises. In essence, Yahweh is revealing that no matter how far gone the Israelites are, how scattered, how assimilated, how idolatrous, He alone holds the authority and power to bring them back to life as a nation. This verse is a foundation for hope, but only within the framework of Israelite restoration, not a universal salvation. Ezekiel 37:4. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Yahweh now gives Ezekiel a divine instruction to speak his word directly to the dead bones, symbolically, the lost and scattered Israelites who have forgotten their covenant, their identity, and their Elohim. Prophesy upon these bones. This command reveals that the only force capable of restoring the spiritually dead Israelites is the spoken word of Yahweh, not philosophy, not politics, not religious traditions of the nations, but prophecy, divine utterance, must be spoken over them. It shows that revival starts not with action, but with the word going forth, the word which reclaims and awakens. O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. This is a direct call to Israelites in their dead state. These dry bones are not random people. They are the children of Jacob, utterly disconnected from their origin. And yet, Yahweh still commands them to hear, implying they can respond, if only his voice reaches them. This verse emphasizes the principle that spiritual restoration of Israel begins with the word of Yahweh being spoken to them in their dead state. Even when Israel is lost among the Gentiles, absorbed into idolatry, or thinking they are non-Israelite, Yahweh's word is the force that begins their reawakening. The prophecy is not directed at all nations. It is aimed precisely at the dry bones of Israel, the only people Yahweh is calling to return to life through his word. Ezekiel 37:5. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. Explanation in the exclusive Israelite context. Yahweh now declares his intent to restore life to the bones, the dead house of Israel. This verse introduces the process of national and spiritual resurrection. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto these bones. Yahweh addresses the bones directly, showing that his word still applies to his people, even in their most forsaken condition. These are not metaphorical bones for all people. They are specifically the scattered, idolatrous Israelites who have forgotten their heritage, laws, and Elohim. Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you. The breath refers to the spirit of life from Yahweh, a divine force that reawakens understanding, identity, and covenant consciousness. In the beginning, Yahweh breathed life into Adam, Genesis 2:7. Now he promises to breathe new life into the spiritually dead descendants of Jacob. This breath represents restoration of truth, law, identity, and the fear of Yahweh. And ye shall live. This is the promise of revival, not to all humanity, but to the house of Israel alone. To live means to return to national life, covenant obedience, and spiritual function as Yahweh's people. These bones, once lost in idolatry and forgotten among the nations, will be revived to walk again in the truth of Yahweh's laws and promises. This verse marks the beginning of Israel's divine reawakening, a process initiated not by human effort, but by Yahweh's sovereign will and prophetic word, targeted exclusively at his chosen people. Ezekiel 37:6. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Explanation. Yahweh now expands on his promise to restore life to the scattered Israelites, showing a step-by-step process of national resurrection, first physically, then spiritually. And I will lay sinews upon you. Sinews, tendons, represent structure and connection. This shows that Yahweh is not simply reviving individuals, but is reconnecting a broken nation, linking the scattered Israelites together into a functioning body. These are the once broken tribes of Israel, now being refashioned into unity under Yahweh. And will bring up flesh upon you. Flesh symbolizes the restoration of national identity, laws, customs, language, and the visible form of Israelite culture. The bones alone are not enough. Yahweh is rebuilding the people with visible distinction as his set-apart nation. And cover you with skin. Skin represents completion and protection, finalizing the form of the nation. Yahweh is redressing his people, who were once stripped bare of heritage and name, giving them covering and honor again among the nations. And put breath in you, the final and most critical phase, spiritual restoration. After forming them physically and culturally, Yahweh gives them his spirit, understanding of his laws, his fear, his truth. This breath brings back their identity as his covenant people, restoring life not just in form, but in substance. And ye shall live. Life, in this context, is covenant life, obedience, identity, and function within Yahweh's divine order. These Israelites were dead in idolatry and ignorance, but will now live as true Israelites once again. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh. The ultimate purpose, to reestablish Yahweh's name and authority among his people. Only the descendants of Israel are being called back to this recognition. This verse makes it clear. The awakening and resurrection of Israel is a sign to them and the world that Yahweh alone is their Elohim. This is not a universal message. This is the reformation of a specific people, the children of Israel, who were once dead because they forsook Yahweh, but who will live again through his mercy and covenant faithfulness. Ezekiel 37:7. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Explanation. This verse reveals the power of Yahweh's word when spoken by his servant. The awakening of the lost house of Israel begins as Ezekiel obeys and declares the prophecy. So I prophesied as I was commanded. Ezekiel does not speak his own thoughts or philosophies. He proclaims exactly what Yahweh instructed, showing that the true awakening of Israel can only come through the pure, unaltered word of Yahweh, not church doctrine or worldly ideologies. This is a call back to the original covenant and identity. And as I prophesied, there was a noise. The noise marks the first response of the dead bones, the Israelites scattered and unaware of their heritage, beginning to stir as the word of Yahweh reaches them. This noise symbolizes disruption, awakening, and the initial stirring of identity among those once thought lost. And behold, a shaking. This shaking is symbolic of the upheaval that comes when truth challenges falsehood. As Israel begins to awaken, there is conflict, both internal, breaking old beliefs, and external, opposing powers and doctrines that have kept Israel in ignorance. Yahweh's word causes a rumble in the spiritual realm and among the nations. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. This signifies the reassembly of Israel, not just as scattered individuals, but as a nation once again. Each bone connecting to his bone shows that Yahweh is restoring Israel in proper tribal order, not a haphazard mix. It is a deliberate divine gathering of the descendants of Jacob, no strangers, no outsiders, being placed back in their rightful roles. This verse illustrates the beginning of national and spiritual resurrection for the true Israelites. It is not a universal gospel for mankind, but a specific restoration of Yahweh's chosen people, who had become spiritually dead through idolatry and dispersion, and now begin to awaken by hearing the prophetic word. Ezekiel 37:8. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Explanation. In this verse, Ezekiel observes the gradual rebuilding of the Israelite nation, a process that is external first, but still lacking the vital spiritual element. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them. This continues the imagery of physical restoration. The sinews and flesh symbolize structure, identity, and national visibility. The Israelites, once scattered and dead, are being reformed as a people. Their language, customs, and tribal distinctions begin to return. This is the recovery of the outer man of Israel. And the skin covered them above. With skin, the bodies appear whole. This suggests the restoration of external Israelite identity. They may now recognize they are descendants of Jacob, identify with the heritage, and even reclaim certain cultural elements. They look alive, but something is still missing. But there was no breath in them. This is the crucial point. Though the people have been physically and nationally restored, they still lack the spirit of Yahweh. They have the form of Israelites, but not the spiritual substance. This mirrors the condition of many today who awaken to their Israelite identity, but have yet to receive the breath. That is, the true understanding of Yahweh's law, the fear of Him, and the spirit of obedience. This verse serves as a warning. National identity without Yahweh's spirit is incomplete. Restoration begins with recognition, but must end in spiritual reformation. Only when Yahweh breathes His Spirit into them will Israel truly live as His people again. Ezekiel 37:9. Then said He unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, Son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. Explanation. This verse marks the transition from physical restoration to spiritual awakening, showing that national identity is not enough without the Spirit of Yahweh. Then said He unto me, Prophesy unto the wind. The wind here represents the spirit or breath of life, which must come from Yahweh alone. Ezekiel is told not just to preach to the bones, Israel, but now to call on the divine spirit to awaken them fully. The command to prophesy again shows that the word of Yahweh is the catalyst for true revival, both body and spirit. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, come from the four winds. The four winds represent the four corners of the earth, showing that the true Israelites are scattered among all nations. This aligns with Deuteronomy 28:64 and other prophecies of dispersion. The breath being summoned from the four winds signifies that Yahweh's Spirit will reach his people wherever they have been scattered. O breath, and breathe upon these slain. Yahweh calls his people slain, not by sword alone, but by spiritual death through idolatry, captivity, and the loss of their covenant. Though alive physically, they are as dead men without Yahweh. Only his Spirit, his truth, law, and presence can reverse that. That they may live. Life here is more than animation. It is covenantal life as a holy nation under Yahweh's law. This breath is not offered to all nations, but exclusively to the slain of the house of Israel, who had lost their identity, their Elohim, and their spiritual purpose. This verse makes it clear that only Yahweh can revive Israel, not through politics or self-determination, but by the breath of his Spirit reaching his chosen people, awakening them to truth, obedience, and righteous national purpose. Ezekiel 37:10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Explanation. This verse reveals the completion of Israel's restoration, not just in form, but in spirit, identity, and divine purpose. So I prophesied as he commanded me. Ezekiel's obedience continues, emphasizing again that the restoration of Israel must happen through Yahweh's words, not man-made doctrines or religions. There is no revival without prophetic truth, spoken according to Yahweh's will. And the breath came into them. This is the Ruach, Spirit, of Yahweh, entering into the once dead Israelites. This breath represents true spiritual awakening, the fear of Yahweh, the return to Torah, the acknowledgement of their identity as the chosen people, and the desire to walk in righteousness. It is this divine breath that completes their transformation. And they lived. Now, for the first time in the chapter, the bones truly live, not just animated bodies, but spirit-filled Israelites restored in covenant. They are no longer dead in idolatry or lost in the nations. They are alive as a people once again under Yahweh, and stood up upon their feet. This signifies strength, readiness, and divine empowerment. Israel, once broken and scattered, is now restored to full stature, standing as a nation ready to serve Yahweh. An exceeding great army, not a carnal military force, but a spiritual army of awakened Israelites, ready to fight the good fight of faith, armed with the Word, the commandments, and the Spirit of truth. This army is exclusive. It is the resurrected nation of Israel, not a mix of Gentiles or a spiritualized church. This is the climax of the vision, a complete resurrection of the house of Israel, reborn not just in name, but in spirit and truth, prepared to walk again as Yahweh's holy nation on earth. Ezekiel 37:11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Explanation. Here, Yahweh removes all ambiguity. He directly identifies the bones, not as symbolic of all humanity, but as the entire nation of Israel, both northern and southern kingdoms. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. This declaration is vital. The bones do not represent the world or a global church. They represent the descendants of Jacob, the 12 tribes. This includes both the southern kingdom, Judah, and the northern kingdom, Ephraim, Israel, now scattered and in spiritual death. The vision is exclusive to Israel, making the national context clear and undeniable. Behold, they say, our bones are dried. This is Israel's self-assessment. They recognize that they are lifeless, disconnected from their power, identity, and covenant. Dry bones reflect despair and the long-term effects of idolatry, captivity, and loss of Yahweh's law. And our hope is lost. Israel is portrayed as a people in deep despair, believing they have no future or path back to restoration. This loss of hope is the spiritual condition of Israelites who think their heritage is erased and the promises are no longer theirs. We are cut off for our parts. This speaks to their disconnection from the land, the covenant, and each other as tribes. They see themselves as no longer a people, severed from Yahweh and their role as his chosen nation. This verse makes Yahweh's purpose unmistakable. The prophecy of the dry bones is for the resurrection and reunification of the Israelite people who had lost hope, identity, and covenant through disobedience and dispersion. It confirms that this restoration is not universal, but national, exclusive to the house of Israel. Ezekiel 37:12, Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. Explanation. This verse is the divine response to Israel's hopeless condition. Yahweh declares his power to restore not just spiritually, but nationally, physically, and territorially. Therefore prophesy and say unto them. Yahweh commands Ezekiel again to speak his words directly to his people, not to the world, but to the lost Israelites. Prophecy here is the tool through which national hope is revived, and Israel is called to attention. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, O my people. My people makes it clear. Yahweh is addressing the same Israel he formed through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are not new converts or spiritualized nations. These are bloodline Israelites who had become estranged from their heritage. I will open your graves. The graves symbolize the spiritual and national death Israel experienced while in captivity, scattered among heathen nations, stripped of identity, language, and covenant. This is not literal resurrection from the dead, but awakening from the condition of being dead as a nation. Yahweh promises to break open the places of burial where Israel lies forgotten, dispersed, and degraded, and cause you to come up out of your graves. This is a divine action. Yahweh alone revives Israel. He lifts them from obscurity, from heathen ideologies, from ignorance of their true identity, and restores their understanding of who they are. And bring you into the land of Israel. This is a national promise of return, not just spiritual restoration, but physical regathering. Yahweh is reclaiming the land promised to Abraham's seed, Genesis 15:18, not offering it to other nations or a mixed multitude. This is the final phase of Israel's resurrection, restoration to their land as one reunited people under Yahweh. This verse affirms that the dry bones are the true house of Israel, whom Yahweh promises to resurrect from their dead state and return to their land, not in metaphor, but in reality. The promise is exclusive, covenantal, and eternal. Ezekiel 37:16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it, for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. Explanation. This verse introduces a symbolic act that represents the long-awaited reunification of the two divided houses of Israel, confirming the exclusive and tribal nature of Yahweh's redemptive plan. Take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. This first stick represents the southern kingdom, also called the house of Judah. It includes the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, along with others who remained loyal after the division. The phrase, his companions, refers to individuals from other tribes who dwelt among Judah, especially during and after the Babylonian captivity. Then take another stick and write upon it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. This second stick stands for the northern kingdom, commonly referred to as the house of Israel, or Ephraim, the leading tribe among the 10. Ephraim, the son of Joseph, became the prophetic symbol of the 10 tribes that were scattered and lost among the nations after the Assyrian captivity, 2 Kings 17. And for all the house of Israel his companions. These companions represent the rest of the 10 tribes associated with Ephraim. Though scattered, they are still part of the same covenant family, and Yahweh has not forgotten them. This verse powerfully reaffirms that the restoration is for the literal, physical descendants of the divided Israelite kingdoms. The use of 2 sticks shows that Yahweh sees their current separation as temporary. His ultimate goal is not only resurrection, but reunification as one people under his law in their own land. This act of writing on the sticks is prophetic and tribal, not metaphorical or universal. It is about uniting the bloodline sons of Jacob who were torn apart through civil division and scattering, bringing them back together under one identity, one covenant, and one king. Ezekiel 37:14. And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I Yahweh have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. Explanation. This final verse in the dry bones prophecy completes Yahweh's promise to fully revive, empower, and restore the nation of Israel, both spiritually and physically. And shall put my spirit in you. Yahweh pledges to fill his people with his Ruach, spirit. This means not just a revival of identity, but a complete inward transformation, renewed minds, obedience to his law, and a restored fear of him. This spirit is not given to all mankind. It is exclusive to his covenant people, the descendants of Israel, fulfilling promises like Ezekiel 36:27 and Joel 2:28. And ye shall live. True life is not just existence, but life in covenant, life with Yahweh dwelling in their midst. This is the reversal of spiritual death caused by idolatry, disobedience, and exile. To live means to function again as the people of Yahweh, holy, set apart, and ruled by his commandments. And I shall place you in your own land. This is the physical restoration, not just spiritual revival, but geographic return. The Israelites are to be brought back to the land promised to their fathers, Genesis 17:8. This land inheritance is not open to all nations. It is the exclusive possession of the house of Israel, from which they were scattered and now are being regathered. Then shall ye know that I Yahweh have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. Yahweh signs and seals the prophecy with his name. When this full resurrection, both spiritual and national, happens, Israel will no longer doubt. They will know beyond question that their Elohim is Yahweh, the one who scattered them in judgment and now gathers them in mercy and power. This verse confirms the prophecy is for no one else but the 12 tribes of Israel, and Yahweh alone is the one who revives, restores, and reestablishes them, for his name's sake and for his everlasting covenant with their fathers. Ezekiel 37:15. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Explanation. This brief verse serves as a transition, introducing a new but connected revelation regarding the restoration of Israel, specifically the reunification of the divided kingdoms, Judah, southern kingdom, and Ephraim, northern kingdom, often called Israel. The word of Yahweh came again unto me. This signals a new phase in the prophecy. It is not Ezekiel's thoughts or hopes, but divine communication from Yahweh, reinforcing that the entire vision and its message are rooted in Yahweh's sovereign will and covenant faithfulness. While verse 15 is short, its importance lies in introducing the next major section, the symbolic joining of two sticks, representing the long-separated houses of Israel. This will continue the theme of national resurrection, but now with a focus on unity, as Yahweh will no longer allow his people to remain divided. The restoration is not just about revival. It is about becoming one nation under one king, as it was before the split after Solomon's reign. The continuation affirms that this restoration is national, tribal, exclusive, and covenantal, pertaining only to the bloodline descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. Ezekiel 37:16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it, for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. Explanation. This verse introduces a symbolic act that represents the long-awaited reunification of the two divided houses of Israel, confirming the exclusive and tribal nature of Yahweh's redemptive plan. Take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. This first stick represents the southern kingdom, also called the house of Judah. It includes the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, along with others who remained loyal after the division. The phrase, his companions, refers to individuals from other tribes who dwelt among Judah, especially during and after the Babylonian captivity. Then take another stick and write upon it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. This second stick stands for the northern kingdom, commonly referred to as the house of Israel, or Ephraim, the leading tribe among the 10. Ephraim, the son of Joseph, became the prophetic symbol of the 10 tribes that were scattered and lost among the nations after the Assyrian captivity, 2 Kings 17. And for all the house of Israel his companions. These companions represent the rest of the 10 tribes associated with Ephraim. Though scattered, they are still part of the same covenant family, and Yahweh has not forgotten them. This verse powerfully reaffirms that the restoration is for the literal, physical descendants of the divided Israelite kingdoms. The use of 2 sticks shows that Yahweh sees their current separation as temporary. His ultimate goal is not only resurrection, but reunification as one people under his law in their own land. This act of writing on the sticks is prophetic and tribal, not metaphorical or universal. It is about uniting the bloodline sons of Jacob who were torn apart through civil division and scattering, bringing them back together under one identity, one covenant, and one king. Ezekiel 37:17. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. Explanation in the context of exclusive Israelite doctrine. This verse reveals Yahweh's purpose to not only revive both houses of Israel, but to reunite them into a single unified nation, ending the centuries-long division, and join them one to another into one stick. The act of physically joining the 2 sticks represents the prophetic merging of the house of Judah, southern kingdom, and the house of Ephraim, northern kingdom, into one people again. This union is not symbolic of unity among all peoples. It is the reunification of the literal descendants of Jacob, the 12 tribes that were divided after Solomon's reign. 1 Kings 12. And they shall become one in thine hand. This unity is not by politics or personal will, but by the prophetic hand of Yahweh through his servant. When Ezekiel joins the sticks, it shows Yahweh's divine intent to restore the full house of Israel as a single, covenant-keeping nation. It also demonstrates that this unity will be evident and visible, not hidden or spiritualized. This verse reaffirms the tribal and national exclusivity of the prophecy. The divided houses will no longer be separate identities or peoples. They will be one nation, one heritage under Yahweh, no longer following the ways of the Gentiles or serving idols, but standing together in righteousness. Ezekiel 37:18. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Explanation. This verse anticipates the curiosity and desire for understanding that will arise among the Israelites once they witness Ezekiel's prophetic action of joining the 2 sticks. And when the children of thy people, this phrase identifies clearly who the audience is, not strangers or Gentiles, but the descendants of Israel, those to whom the prophecy belongs by blood and covenant. Thy people confirms that this entire message is directed toward the 12 tribes. Shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? The Israelites, even in a scattered and spiritually dead state, are shown here to have an instinctive connection to the signs being performed. Though many had lost their heritage, there remains a yearning for truth and clarity about their identity and future. The visual symbolism of the 2 sticks prompts them to inquire, a sign that Yahweh is awakening their understanding through prophecy. This verse highlights the importance of the prophet's role in explaining Yahweh's plan to his people alone. The merging of the 2 sticks demands interpretation because the people are being spiritually reawakened and desire to understand the will of Yahweh regarding their national restoration. It reinforces that the message is not for the world, but for the children of Israel, whom Yahweh is gathering and teaching through his appointed servants. Ezekiel 37:19. Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. Explanation in the context of exclusive Israelite doctrine. This verse is Yahweh's clear and unambiguous response to Israel's question, confirming his plan to reunite the divided kingdom into a single, indivisible nation under his authority. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. This is not Ezekiel's opinion or a metaphor. It is a direct statement from the Most High, reinforcing the authority and certainty of what is about to be declared. Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim. Joseph, through his son Ephraim, represents the northern kingdom, commonly called Israel. Ephraim had become symbolic of the 10 tribes who were scattered and assimilated into other nations, losing their identity and covenant standing. Yahweh's act of taking this stick shows his divine initiative to reclaim and recover them. And the tribes of Israel, his fellows. This refers to the rest of the 10 tribes that were associated with Ephraim. Though scattered, Yahweh recognizes their tribal distinctions and identities, even if the world does not. They are not lost to him, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah. Yahweh is bringing together the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, with the northern tribes. The reunification is not social or religious. It is tribal, covenantal, and prophetic. And make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. This is the climax. Yahweh will make the divided kingdoms one united nation again under his control. In mine hand confirms that this restoration is under his authority, not the result of politics, religion, or man's effort. This verse leaves no room for universalist interpretations. It is a literal, national, and exclusive promise. The 12 tribes of Israel, once divided, will be united by Yahweh into a single, sovereign body, distinct from the nations to fulfill his eternal covenant. Ezekiel 37:20. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Explanation. This verse highlights the visible and prophetic symbolism meant to awaken and confirm Yahweh's plan to the children of Israel. And the sticks whereon thou writest. The sticks represent the two divided kingdoms of Israel, Judah and Ephraim. Writing on the sticks ensures that each house is named and identified, leaving no ambiguity as to whom Yahweh is addressing. Shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Ezekiel is to hold the joined sticks visibly before the people of Israel. This act is not done in secret. It is a public, symbolic demonstration meant to be seen and understood. Yahweh is showing that his plan to reunite and restore Israel will be open and undeniable, fulfilling prophecy in full view of his people. This verse reinforces the message. Yahweh is not dealing with the world at large, but with his covenant people, the children of Jacob. The restoration of national identity and unity is to be witnessed by the very descendants who were once scattered and dead, so they may understand that their Elohim is faithful and still working on their behalf. Ezekiel 37:21. And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. Explanation. This verse declares Yahweh's sovereign and exclusive intention to recover his scattered people, the children of Israel, from the nations among whom they were dispersed. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. Once again, the authority of the message is from Yahweh himself. This is not about religion or tradition. It is a direct prophetic statement from the Most High. I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen. This defines the audience and scope clearly. Yahweh is not gathering all peoples. He is specifically recovering the children of Israel, those who were scattered due to their disobedience, cf. Deuteronomy 28-64. The heathen, nations, are those non-Israelite peoples among whom the Israelites were driven and with whom they lost their identity. Whither they be gone. This acknowledges the vast dispersion of the Israelites throughout the earth. Though they may be lost to themselves and the world, Yahweh knows exactly where each of his people is, and will gather them on every side. This is a global regathering, but not of all mankind. Yahweh will collect his people from every nation and corner of the earth where they were driven, not where they naturally belonged. It is a reversal of judgment, turning dispersion into restoration, and bring them into their own land. This land is not symbolic. It is the literal land of promise given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The restored Israel will be brought back to their inheritance, not shared or universalized, but exclusive to the 12 tribes. This verse is a foundational prophecy of national resurrection and physical regathering. It affirms that Yahweh is not gathering a spiritual Israel of many races, but the blood descendants of Jacob, to bring them back into their land under his authority as one nation once again. Ezekiel 37:22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Explanation. This verse presents Yahweh's ultimate purpose for his people, complete national reunification, both territorially and under righteous theocratic rule. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. Yahweh is restoring the full 12 tribes as one unified nation. The phrase, "in the land," confirms this is not spiritual or symbolic. It is the literal land of Israel, the inheritance promised to Abraham's seed, Genesis 15:18, Ezekiel 36:24. The mountains of Israel refer to the tribal territories and elevated regions where the nation will dwell once reestablished. And one king shall be king to them all. The united tribes will be ruled by one sovereign ruler, pointing to the promised return of a Davidic monarch, ultimately fulfilled in the rulership of the Messiah, Yahweh Shah-I-E, who will govern according to the law and righteousness of Yahweh. This reflects the restoration of divine kingship, not democratic or foreign rule. And they shall be no more two nations. The long division between the southern kingdom, Judah, and northern kingdom, Israel, Ephraim, will be ended permanently. This fracture occurred after Solomon and resulted in centuries of separation and differing destinies. 1 Kings 12. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. This prophecy speaks of permanent unity under Yahweh's covenant and leadership. No longer will the tribes have separate governments, rival kings, or civil war. The whole house of Israel will be one sovereign people, not mixed, not diluted, but fully restored. This verse confirms that the restoration of Israel is national, tribal, and governed, not religious, symbolic, or universal. Yahweh is reuniting the descendants of Jacob only, ending their fragmentation, and placing them back into covenantal order under one righteous king. Ezekiel 37:23. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. Explanation. This verse reveals the spiritual purification that will accompany the national restoration of the children of Israel. It addresses the root cause of their dispersion, idolatry, and disobedience, and Yahweh's plan to cleanse them. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols. Idolatry was the primary reason Israel was cast off and scattered among the nations, 2 Kings 17:7-23. Yahweh promises that once restored, they will no longer adopt heathen gods, customs, or religions. This repentance is exclusive to the Israelite nation, returning to their original covenant. Nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. The restoration is not merely political, it is moral and spiritual. Yahweh will cause his people to turn from all sins, especially the unclean practices adopted while living among the nations. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned. Dwelling places refers to the nations and lands of captivity, where Israel sinned by conforming to Gentile ways. Yahweh's salvation is the deliverance of Israelites out of those places of spiritual and physical captivity, not the inclusion of the nations themselves, and will cleanse them. Yahweh will purify his people, not just from external defilements, but from the deep spiritual corruption that came from forsaking his law. This cleansing is tied to the giving of his Spirit and a new heart, as also seen in Ezekiel 36:25-27. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. This covenantal language echoes Exodus 6:7 and Jeremiah 31:33. It reestablishes the exclusive relationship between Yahweh and the descendants of Jacob. They are his people, and no other nation is included in this restoration. This verse makes clear that the final regathering of Israel will involve full repentance and purification, ending their spiritual whoredoms and restoring their holy status as Yahweh's covenant nation. Ezekiel 37:24. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. Explanation. This verse presents the righteous rulership and covenantal obedience that will define the reunited, restored nation of Israel under Yahweh's anointed king. And David my servant shall be king over them. This refers prophetically to Yahawashi, the Messiah, who is of the seed of David and destined to reign over the 12 tribes. Though David himself had long passed, Yahweh uses his name as a symbol of the righteous king from his line. This is not symbolic of the church or of Gentile leadership. It is a specific promise to a specific lineage and people. And they all shall have one shepherd. No longer will Israel be divided under multiple leaders or foreign rulers. Yahawashi is the one shepherd, fulfilling the role of guide, protector, and king over the entire house of Israel, cf. John 10:16, where Yahawashi speaks of bringing in his scattered sheep, Israelites. They shall also walk in my judgments. Once restored, Israel will not return to rebellion. They will walk according to Yahweh's judgments, his laws and commands, as a nation in righteous order, and observe my statutes and do them. This is national obedience, not mere belief. Yahweh's people, once defiled among the nations, will now be set apart through action by living out his law. The restoration is spiritual, judicial, and cultural, all rooted in obedience to Torah. This verse cements the reality that the future of Israel is tribal, monarchic, and Torah-centered under the rulership of Yahawashi. No room is left for a universal, all-inclusive interpretation. This is Yahweh, restoring his holy nation to its rightful order and king. Ezekiel 37:25. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they, and their children, and their children's children forever, and my servant David shall be their prince forever. Explanation. This verse emphasizes the eternal inheritance of the land and the unbroken royal leadership Yahweh has ordained specifically for the 12 tribes of Israel. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant. Yahweh reaffirms his covenant with Jacob, Israel, the father of the 12 tribes. This land was promised to his seed alone. Genesis 28:13-14. It is not a symbolic or spiritual land. It is the literal territory of Israel, which has never been promised to any other people. Wherein your fathers have dwelt. The reference to the patriarchs reinforces that this promise is racial, genealogical, and exclusive. The children of Israel will return to the same land their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, lived in, not to a spiritualized heaven or universal kingdom. And they shall dwell therein, even they, and their children, and their children's children forever. This is a perpetual national inheritance for the literal descendants of Jacob. It confirms that generational continuity is part of Yahweh's plan. Israelites living on their own land forever. There is no room here for replacement theology or spiritual reinterpretation. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Again, the reference to David points to the messianic rulership, fulfilled in Yahawashi, the son of David. As prince, he governs with righteousness, and his reign is eternal, in contrast to the divided, rebellious kingships of Israel's past. This verse confirms that Yahweh's promises are not open-ended or universal. They are focused on the restoration of the children of Israel to their land, under their king, in perpetual covenant. Ezekiel 37:26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Explanation. This verse affirms that Yahweh will reestablish his covenant relationship with the house of Israel, now purified and united under righteous leadership. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. This is not a new covenant with the world, but a renewed covenant with the same people Yahweh has always dealt with, the children of Israel. This peace means restoration of right relationship, absence of war, and divine favor, no longer under judgment or oppression. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. The word everlasting confirms that this covenant is permanent and unbroken. It is not conditional upon man, but guaranteed by Yahweh's own word. This fulfills and expands upon previous covenants with Abraham, Genesis 17:7, reaffirming that the covenant belongs to his descendants, the Israelites, forever. And I will place them and multiply them. Yahweh will settle his people in their land and cause them to flourish in numbers and strength. This is a reversal of the curses, Deuteronomy 28, showing that the same people who were scattered and diminished will now be planted and multiplied, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Yahweh promises to dwell among his people again. This sanctuary represents his presence, his law, and his favor. No longer will Israel be cut off or defiled. The Most High will once again reside in the center of their national life, as in the days of the tabernacle and temple, but now, eternally. This verse assures the Israelites that their restoration is not temporary or symbolic, but eternal, physical, and spiritual, centered around their identity, land, and relationship with Yahweh alone. Ezekiel 37:27. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Explanation. This verse declares the full and permanent restoration of Yahweh's intimate presence among his people, the children of Israel only. My tabernacle also shall be with them. The tabernacle symbolizes Yahweh's dwelling place, his presence, authority, and divine governance. This means that Yahweh will once again live among his people, just as he did in the wilderness when Israel was set apart and holy. But this time, it is permanent and without interruption. Yea, I will be their God. Yahweh reaffirms that he will exclusively be the Elohim of the Israelites, not shared with other nations. This is a restatement of the ancient covenant language found in Exodus 6:7 and Jeremiah 31:33. It shows a one-to-one relationship. Yahweh belongs to Israel, and Israel belongs to Yahweh, and they shall be my people. This is a confirmation of identity and belonging. Despite all the dispersion, idolatry, and rebellion, Yahweh will restore Israel to their full national and spiritual status as his people. This designation is not transferred to another group or made symbolic. It remains with the literal descendants of Jacob. This verse seals the message that Yahweh's relationship with Israel is eternal. His presence, identity, and love are not extended to all nations. They are reserved for his covenant people, who will once again be made whole, righteous, and fully restored.